Boom, 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 boom. All right.
Boom.
We are recording now, sweet. So we'll do this until we get caught anyway.
Hey.
Hello, and welcome to the Rock and Roll Podcast. I am your host, John Harris, and on my right-hand side is my right-hand man, Gabriel.
Yeah, boy.
And today on the Rock and Roll Podcast, we have Until We Get Caught, who has a new EP called Surface, which will be releasing on July 31st via In Vogue Records. Right now, I'm being joined by Chris and Ricardo to share some information about the EP, a couple of tracks we're going to chat about off of the EP, what they've been up to, what they got going on. So, boys, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Woo! Woo woo!
Absolutely great to have you on. I absolutely love the fact that in the blurb I got, you guys were listed as whatever core. And I've chatted with like so many like North Core, Fantasy Core. And it's like it's getting out of hand. So I just love the fact that you guys were just going to smack it in the face of the fish.
So whatever core it came from, we really didn't know because like we have obviously like the really like melodic cleans, and then we have a lot of screams as well. So we didn't really know if we were like considered like metalcore because it's a little bit different than most metalcore that like I guess.
What I get from whatever core is that it's kind of like we started easy core, then we like dabbled in pop punk a little bit, and then we're now metalcore. So we kind of still have a little bit of us from each track from our previous.
Yeah, we're just whatever core.
Yeah, so we just like whatever core because it was just a bunch of things that like we just didn't use from our other stuff that we had before.
Well, I guess that brings up the breadcrumb question. You know, you've got these breadcrumbs from the previous things you guys worked on. So, I mean, I guess the broader question is, how did the journey bring you to the EP Surface that we're going to chat about today? Because it sounded like you guys have gone from a few different genre changes.
Yeah, obviously the band used to be Easy Core. Our first tour that I had with Ricky, we were Easy Core, and then we ended up going to a different producer who made us. He specializes in pop punk, so he kind of turned us into cutesy pop punk for a little bit, you know, with some screaming in there. And then, you know, we didn't really feel like it was us. So we ended up searching around for different producers, and then we ended up going to Andrew Bayless, who is known for doing metalcore.
And I probably wouldn't blame like producers for that. We were unsure with ourselves. We were all coming out of our own personal lives. Each of us, ironically, all found each other when something was going like wrong within our personal life. Mm-hmm. So we dabbled in the pop punk because I grew up on, you know, pop punk stuff. I grew up doing all that. That was the only bands I've ever been in. So coming into this band and finding out like that their original songwriter had left, it was kind of all on Chris and I when Chris officially joined. Mm-hmm. And we just kind of rolled with everything. And it wasn't until we met a producer that was like, hey, maybe we should try something a little bit different. And they were like, let's utilize Alex more. Let's bump up the guitars. You guys like to write fast. Let's write fast, but also take it back a step. And that's how we got Burn For Me. Yeah. Just like that's how we threw it. We had a song with the structure, and we just didn't know the direction we wanted to go in until we sat down with, you know, 6 of us in a room.
Me and Ricky,
all right, let's do this.
Yeah. When me and Ricky like joined this band, like we kind of already knew that we wanted to change the sound a little bit, and they like Gersh, our screamer, was pretty open to it. So we decided to just kind of experiment with different things.
Yeah,
I don't think they even, you know, really knew.
It was cool to see us find ourselves. That's a cool, like, to see where we were 3 years ago, to see where we are now. I still probably won't believe you if you were to tell me where we are.
Wow, well that's fantastic. And I mean, speaking of one of us, because I guess you guys are now one of us.
Oh,
you know, speaking of, I don't know what kind of core that is. I figure core is like if you've got 7 snare samples stacked on each other, you might as well have like 10 snare samples or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's just like that extra 1 or 2 snares that make it like core.
Exactly. But speaking of my note on this one is like angry mosh pit. I'm thinking of my ex-girlfriend kind of song. Like it just comes out swinging. Yeah. I don't know who I'm mad at, but suddenly I find myself just, I don't know, angry in a crowd wanting to kill somebody. That's
the vibe. That song, honestly, has nothing to do. We were looking for a reason to blame somebody for something, but really at the end of it, we found out we just had to blame ourselves for stuff, like reasons why we got in predicaments, the reasons why we did certain things. So that song was about like mental health and, addiction. Like, we at the very end of the song, there's a line that says, "This is Omega," and that line is to signify that that the pain you put somebody through lasts forever. Yeah. Whether you're dealing with addiction or mental illness, the impact that happens after what you do has an impact on everybody else.
And there are people out there that think that they're, perfect and they don't have any mental health issues. But when we say, you're one of us, we're meaning that everybody goes through, mental health, goes through sadness in their life, goes through even sometimes addiction in their life, and they don't even realize that they're addicted to something. So sometimes, it's good. We were just wanted to, let everyone know that everybody is pretty much the same. Everyone's been through the same kind of, feelings and emotions.
Yeah, what I wrote down is that everyone goes through some kind of neurosis.
Anger was the motive behind it all, was that we were angry at ourselves for letting us go down this path, and we used it to our advantage.
Exactly.
That's what we did.
Yes, no more pop punk. We were teenage boys, and this young man led us into a studio. And anyway, sweet.
That song was also written in a blizzard. We got stuck in Buffalo for 6 hours. We wrote that song. Everybody was either sick or pretending to be sick, and we were stuck in a basement during a blizzard. And then we had to drive back, and blizzard.
I've never been so scared in my life.
Yeah,
literally
very long, 48 hours or 72 hours maybe.
Our drummer was driving, and he was like, "Guys, I don't know what's going on here." He had no idea. We were freaking out.
It sounds like Groundhog Day. Well, that wasn't Buffalo. That was Pennsylvania and Groundhog Day. Beautiful. But everybody goes through some kind of neurosis or psychosis. It's just whether or not we build it into a habit, I think, from then on.
Yeah. I guess it's just awareness, having awareness when you get to that point and what it does.
Exactly. Which is when it comes to the surface, which is not the surface, but just surface.
Surface.
Now, interestingly enough, because the whole EP is varied, very well written as well. I would say this is probably one of the more angrier tracks. Am I wrong? Oh, you're quite welcome. But this theme of mental health and addiction, is this something that permeates through the entire EP, or is this just a one-off track?
I would say it just keeps you thinking, if there's a conversation we're having in the song, is it with yourself or is it with somebody else? It's a conversation that you find yourself talking. The whole album basically is just a conversation we have with ourselves. But I can see where you could say, oh, this is about somebody. But realistically, it's just us. We find ourselves talking inside of our head an awful lot. And that's the conversation we wanted to over-exaggerate, is just you don't know if it's this person or if it's myself.
Yeah. Each song pretty much tells a story, and they all kind of connect to one another. So.
Well, of course it's not me, guys. It's somebody else. Of course it's somebody else. I don't have any issues. Duh.
Yeah. Issues.
Speaking of The Surface, so I guess really quick, we have the EP called Surface, and then we have this track called The Surface. So I guess what's the difference between the two?
The is the difference. That was literally it. It was either going to be called 6 Feet from the Surface. It was going to be called Playing Games. It was going to be called, and then we really were oh, let's figure out after we named the EP, and then we were oh, maybe we should just name it Surface. And then we were oh my God, guys, we have a song named The Surface now. What do we do? And they're put the in front of it. We put The Surface to try to distinguish the two apart. So when someone asks oh, you listen to have you listened to The Surface? And you're yeah, I love that song. Now oh, I love that album.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a good song, and my note on this one, and I hope you guys take it as a compliment. And I'm not trying to put the band I'm comparing it to under the bus, because they're great in their own way. But it's as if Linkin Park got injected with Mega Huge Balls serum.
That's awesome. I like that.
That's different.
That's different. I like that.
That song came from we love Bring Me the Horizon. That would be our only hint for that. And we really just took our time to really listen to Bring Me the Horizon. And speaking, that was just of the backtracks and some of the the clean guitar and some in that song is from a song from them. And we just wrote it. It was I think it was our very first demo too. And it almost didn't make the cut either.
Yeah, when we went to Bayless, we were like, nah, we're not really too sure of this. We had like another song. He's like, no, we're gonna do this one. So
is that how it ended up on there? Then was a producer decision?
No, we wanted to have that fifth or sixth member or ear, I guess you would call it, to like listen to all the songs, because at this point we'd already listened to the songs for months, so we couldn't really figure out if like which ones were our songs. At the time we were doing 3 songs, and we had brought in 4 songs because we didn't know which direction we were going to go in. And he had made a valid point when picking Surface over everything, was that all the songs we had before were, you know, upbeat or has like a drive force behind it. And he believed that we should have did something to stand us a little bit further back, like to put us more in a mood where we can think a little bit more, and it's a little bit more airy. Yeah. And that's how Surface came to be. And then Surface honestly went through like the most minimal changes out of all of our demos. Like we just like the effects got better, and like the breakdown in the bridge got obviously a lot better. Yeah, we would know, but obviously a lot better.
Like like the effects just kind of got brought to life, like with Bayless a little bit. He was able to like amplify them a little bit more, make them sound like what we wanted to hear. So then that song just kind of came to light.
Very cool. Now, something you mentioned on the EP is it's a series of conversations that we are having with ourselves, and obviously we could always find somebody externally as well that we're having a conversation with. What's the conversation in this track?
There's always this, like, for me, it's that cat and mouse game you play inside your head where, like, you're telling yourself, don't think of it like this. But then you're like, I can't help but think of it like this. But then you start to be like, you start to fight it back, saying, like, oh, I should feel this way because I'm entitled to. And then you feel pity, and then you feel hate, and then you don't know if you feel that hate towards them or towards yourself. And so the playing games part is basically like my mind telling myself, like, you like playing this game? Like, are you having fun, like, falling apart? It could also be to a relationship as well, because obviously in a relationship, things could happen. Things have happened in previous relationships with anybody. And the playing games would just represent, you know, you playing along with whatever game is happening in that scenario, and how, you know, how does it feel when the tables turn on you?
Wow.
Yeah,
that was a lot.
We went, I would say mostly though, like when we wrote that song was mostly about like that push and pull, that cat and mouse mental thing that we kind of did in this song, was just trying to like pull it in a little bit deeper.
Mm-hmm. Deeper than the surface, that's for sure.
You got it. You got it. Deeper than the surface.
Bing, bang, bong. Sweet. So we've got some conversations about mental health and addiction. We've got some conversations about like a mental push and pull, playing games, cat and mouse. When it comes to the EP, though, as a whole, I guess what are the other 3 conversations that we're having on the EP?
Yeah, so like fading out is pretty much like it's about taking a step back. So like it's that part. If you're like in an argument with someone, it's like your subconscious, what's going on in your head at that time. And for Ghost, it deals with like a lot of like mental abuse, you know, depression. And Burn for me is kind of like the underdog story. So pretty much like, you know, you were at the bottom, but now you're at the top, and you keep persevering, you keep going. So that's pretty much like what the other conversations are about.
Burn for me basically is about, you know, talk your talk, but we'll walk our walk.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Now, musically, I guess what should we expect from the rest of the EP for anybody who has not heard the rest of the EP, or maybe a different question, guys, is what did you set out to create? Because it sounds like there was quite a bit of material that was available for the EP. What did you guys set out to create with the EP Surface?
So Surface, we made to make it relatable. We didn't just want to write music just to write music. We didn't want to satisfy our needs. A lot of our situations that we talked about in our songs are us. So we wanted to write music that we could listen to 5 years down the line and be like, wow, that's still relatable now, you know, 10 years down the line. It's something to reminisce about. We didn't want it just to be lost in a void of other songs. We wanted to be us. It was 5 of us, so we made 5 songs.
Yeah. It was you know, it's kind of like when we were in the studio as well too, like we didn't realize actually at the time that every song tied into one another. That just kind of naturally happened that way. So, which was a little different for us as well. We just kind of went with the vibe and just kept vibing with it, and that's how Surface was created.
Wow. And then now we are here, which is fantastic. Now, one of my next questions is going to be with regard to our COVID situation, because typically you guys would have been doing all kinds of shows and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is, what have you guys been up to during this time? Is it just been making sure that the marketing for the EP gets released properly, or is there some other stuff that you guys have been up to during this time?
We're just trying to keep ourselves up, like to par, like even live. So we practice live still, make sure that we're working out like all the kinks. We've also been writing a lot of like new music as well to kind of try to keep us busy.
Our practice schedule hasn't really changed. I think we stopped for like 1 week, just like the initial week, just to make sure, like to see what the vibe was with everybody. I mean, I went to go get tattoos with our drummer the day of the pandemic on March 13th when they told us we had to do the lockdown for 14 days. So, I mean, we just wanted to make sure everybody else was cool. And then after a week we came back and we started writing music. We kept practicing. We were doing, 4 or 5 hours at a time, 6 hours at a time, hanging out on Sundays once everything started to be a little bit more free. Basically, we have an entire album already ready. We're just waiting to go to the studio. That's how much time we spent together, is that we just, in a few months, we finished writing the initial base to an album. That we started picking songs and that we like and such.
And does it continue along the evolution that you guys have shown thus far, or what should we expect from the album that's coming up, if you guys are willing to say?
Metal. We're
electronic.
Yeah, no, I don't know. We have, this album is gonna be. We've been listening to the tracks back and forth. Like we've been sending each other parts that we really like, and a lot of it's like, if you like 2008, 2009 Attack. If you're into I See Stars back in the 3D era, or what's it called? Bless the Fall. We just like have all these little dabbles here and there. Like we've just been listening to music. Yeah, we travel a lot together, so we listen to songs and we're like marking songs that we like really, really like at points that we just want to figure out how they did it. And we're trying to not piggyback. I want to say piggyback. We're trying to just figure out how they do it so that we can do it. So we're just taking that extra step to kind of be better musicians, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Very, very cool stuff. Well, boys, that concludes my questions. But if there's anything that I did not bring up that you wanted to chat about, then please do so. Otherwise, I just wanted to thank you guys for coming on to the Rock Metal Podcast today.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Yeah, this was fun. Hopefully we can do this after it and for the next album and the album after that and the album after that. Keep going.
Oh, no. I made Ricardo feel comfortable.
Time you see us.
Oh, hopefully.
Or hear us. Hear us, yes. Maybe.
Hear us, yes. Go ahead and hit stop, please.